Give me a second for anybody who's there. Okay. Hey man, what's up? I'm just starting now, so let's wait a little bit and see if anybody wants to join in. All right, man, good for you. All right, let me move this over. I could see the live chat. Okay. So, I'm pretty much open to talk about the Daytona 500, the commercial bullshit, and I'm noticing a lot of people suddenly caping for Fox Sports and this whole commercial stuff. So I really want to get into that. Uh, so hopefully more people join in and we could have a good discussion. So I hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, man, I'm seeing. Also, let me know if you can hear me. I don't want to screw things up. Want to make sure you can hear me clear and hopefully uh, do a live stream where I don't screw something up. So I got my pop-up chat boxes up. Uh, you guys should be able to see the Twitter page. Let me see what's going on here. All right, these are my new. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I do have a lot to say about the commercials, so I want more people to join in. Hopefully, they do. I'm just checking my Twitter feed. Yeah, and even this fucking. I'm amazed at who the people are that are. Let's see. You got Jamie Little is one already starting like showing us this chart on how it's always been this way with the commercials. Um, I mean, I get it that commercials have always been a part of NASCAR racing on the broadcast, but I think people are just fed up. We live in a different time now, and I really don't like how all of these people are suddenly caping for this model. It's like this is archaic. There has to be a better way, a better solution. I don't want to get too deep into it till we get more people in here, but and I'll give you some of my thoughts on the Daytona 500 as well. Hey Mark, how you doing? Yeah, it's not acceptable anymore. Um, and these people, they want to kind of tell you, well, it's the way it's always been. Look at these charts. Look, way back 20 years ago, it's the same amount of commercials. This is all in your head. It doesn't matter. It's just that you see things change, right? Look at Formula One. I don't know that much about Formula One. Let's see, when was the last time you watched a commercial and actually went out for their product? Yeah, you know what? These commercials, they're overrated. Most people don't really pay mind to these commercials, and a lot of these commercials don't even focus on the product. I can't tell you how many times, even my wife, she'll look at me and say, "What the fuck are they selling?" And the commercial's about everything except the product. I mean, regardless of that, people don't like commercials. I understand that's what pays the bills, but there has to be a better way to do things. Um, I'm going to show you guys a couple of the bullshit that's going on. Okay? You got Jamie Little do this, and they all got the same chart, and it's like they're passing it around to each other. Yeah, they just try to be funny. Yeah, like, oh, let's make a cute, funny commercial, and then people are going to pay attention to the product. No, the most effective commercials just they get right to the point. They tell you what the product is. They show you this is what this product is meant to do. This is why you need it. And that's it. I don't need some catchy fucking jingles. And let's see, when you watch the British commentators calling IMSA or WEC races, it's entirely commercial free. Even the 12 to 24-hour races, they take shifts commentating. That's my point. They'll tell you, "Oh, look, it's been like this forever." So, in other words, you guys are don't have a reason to complain. You should just accept it because it's this is the way it's always been. But they won't look at Formula One and these other racing series that have managed to successfully broadcast races ad free. Now, even if you can make the case where okay, we have to have some commercials, I can accept that, but it's endless. And even when they go back to the racing action, they're still plugging fucking sponsors constantly. Oh, I'm starting to agree with you on plate racing. That's right. Biggest races won by the worst. Wasn't always like this. We need ad free. Yeah, I got a lot to say about the Daytona 500. Um, I thought about doing a race review. I don't want to commit to doing race reviews every week because for me, sometimes I watch a race and I don't have much to say. It doesn't mean it was good or bad, but there's nothing about it that makes me want to like get on and do a video on it. So that's why I don't commit to doing it. Usually I will talk about a race if there's something unique about that race that I need to address or I want to talk about. When it comes to pack racing, Daytona, Talladega, and now Atlanta, I feel like I beat it to death. I've already told you guys 1,000 times why I hate pack racing. And honestly, I'm surprised to see how many people have said that they actually thought this was a good race. Like, forget about the commercials for a second. They're just talking about the race, and they said, oh, it was actually a good race. I still don't get it. And I watched it. I watched all four races. Okay. I remember the last time I watched all four races. I'm including ARCA. Um, I made a commitment this year. I said, I really got to try to give this a chance. Maybe I'll figure out what I'm not getting that the rest of the community seems to get. And I still don't. I watched ARCA. I will say there were parts of it that I found interesting. The race itself was nothing special, but I've never seen that many women involved in a race. And I'm not gonna lie, I was interested to see how they would run. Okay, I want to see uh women do well, and I want to see like okay, can they actually step up and be at just competitive? And I gotta be honest, some of it was interesting, and I actually was impressed with this one. I forgot her name, Amber Balcaen, Balcaen. Never heard of her before, but she ran strong the whole race. It wasn't like, oh, she was hanging around the back and then just lucked out. She actually was very competitive the whole race. Like she was actually running near the front. Also, towards the end of the race, her car got stupid loose. And so clearly there was a problem with it, but that kept me interested. I was like paying attention to the women, okay? So I had a reason to watch. And then I found out later after the race that she actually lost power steering, which obviously is going to have a big effect. It just made me more impressed with her performance, right? I'm not going to go crazy about it because, like I told you guys, I don't think pack racing just doesn't really impress me that much. I'm not saying that it takes no talent, but I just don't find it that impressive. But I was impressed with her performance. And do I think it's going to translate to other tracks? No, I'm not sure about that. But I will keep an eye out for her if I happen to tune into an ARCA race. I'm curious. So those are things that made me watch the race. Then I saw the truck race, I saw the Xfinity, and of course the Daytona 500. I saw nothing interesting that made me like super laser focused. It's just more conga lines. Um, in the Daytona 500, the only part of it that I found somewhat interesting was the green flag pit stops because anything can happen. And it's the one time where people sort of break apart for a little bit. People make mistakes. That was about it. It was boring, and I'm sorry. I hated it. Um, I don't think I'm ever gonna like it. And that's not even getting into how horrible the broadcast was. The broadcast. I'm done with Clint Boyer. In the beginning I thought he had promise. I thought that he might be able to um like he has some personality. I thought it could translate, but I haven't seen him grow. He's terrible. That one call at the end where I think um the 10 car Almirola got into Pastrana causing that whole thing, and his call was just bland. It was lifeless. I I'm done with Boyer. I just feel like he's sort of like the mascot, and Fox is awful. The broadcast is terrible. They missed anything that was something that they should have caught and actually been on top of. They missed the commercials, of course. That's the biggest story. Everybody was complaining about it, and and then when you find out, oh yeah, it's the same number of commercials we've always had. Why are people suddenly more attentive and noticing it more? And I just think people are getting tired of it. Just because something's always been a certain way, at some point, it just, people do reach a point where it's like, I'm fucking fed up with this. It's like, I think somebody said it was an average of 8 laps of green flag racing, and then they would go right back to commercial. Then when they are doing green flag racing, they can't shut up about sponsored by this, and this is the fucking Wendy's cam, and this is that. It's just, it's an endless siege of sponsors just force feeding commercials, and people are fed up with it. And for people to come out and show you a graph and say, well, it's always been this way, what are people complaining about? It's, they're caping for a terrible business model, and I don't have patience for that. So let me read some of the comments before I continue to go on this diatribe. Okay. They just try to be funny. I'm starting to agree with you on plate racing. Yeah, man. I'm sorry. Pack racing, it's, I don't get it. It's just a 3.5, 4 hours of a conga lines. It never, at no point in the race did it matter who was running fifth, eighth, because The end of every pack race is the same. It's a huge blender. Some people get wrecked, other people survive. There's no races have more surprise winners than these pack races because anybody can win. And thanks to NASCAR's gimmick of winning you're in, now you have a mediocre driver, Ricky Stenhouse, and he has a playoff spot already. And he's been mediocre his whole career. I'm not going to lie, he has a knack for pack racing, right? Like I said, it does take a knack, but it's a playoff spot gifted to him. Can anybody honestly say this guy at the end of the regular season is going to deserve to have that spot? He might prove us wrong. Who knows, right? But I haven't seen anything from him that's going to tell me he's anything more than mediocre. So there you go with that. All right, so we need ad free. You know, I'm not an expert on Formula One, but apparently they've figured out a way to broadcast without commercials at all. That doesn't mean NASCAR would be able to successfully copy that. I mean, I don't know enough about it to say, yeah, just do the same thing. But certainly there has to be a middle ground. Maybe there has to be a way for NASCAR to cut the commercials down. Maybe cut them in half. Give us longer airtime of racing. And certainly the fucking broadcast can be better. Now, NBC's broadcast is light years better than Fox. However, the problem with all these commercials is not going to go away when it switches from Fox to NBC. So there's a big problem here. And I'm at the point where if NASCAR offered a streaming service that would, obviously would have to be commercial free, I'd pay for it. I mean, within reason, at least as a second option to people who want that option. So even if you broadcast on Fox, if you want to watch a streaming service and you pay whatever, I don't know what I would be willing to pay, right? Because if you're going to get 4 weekends of racing, so I'm going to include the other series in the package, you know, how much is that worth? That's open for debate, but they have to look into something. And from what I see with NASCAR, when it comes to trying to be innovative, they go with gimmicks, right? So they've made a million changes to the actual race product, and a lot of it has not worked or hasn't been popular. But when it comes to the broadcasting side of things, they haven't made any changes. So by their own admission, and all these people that are caping for Fox Sports, by pushing this new narrative, like, hey, look at this chart, it's always been this way, why are people complaining? In other words, it's our fault for thinking there's a problem. Um, when it comes to that, NASCAR is not innovative at all. They're not trying anything new. They're just saying, look, we've been doing this for fucking 25 years. Why change anything? Even though they're losing viewers. Now, I'm going to show you a tweet from Freddie Kraft, if I can find it, who is Bubba Wallace's spotter. I like Freddie Kraft. I've seen him on doing podcasts. Really cool guy. I have nothing against him, but why is he he went on Twitter and he's giving you the same shit. Where is this guy? I'm gonna try to find it. Bear with me. I'm gonna read the other comments, but before I do, here's another asshole. This Gossage guy. Let's take a look at this, right? So he comes on, he's giving you the same bullshit chart that shows you since 2001. It's pretty much the same commercial breaks. And he's saying, thank the good Lord for TV. Otherwise, millions of us would have missed yesterday's Daytona 500. If you thought there were more commercials than ever, wrong. With in big bold capital letters and an exclamation point. Remember, commercials are necessary for networks to televise the race. This guy, does he work for Fox now? Or is he he's the guy that reconfigured Texas and destroyed that track? But so when Elite Precision brought it up, he said, I definitely don't want to hear from the guy that ruined Texas Motor Speedway. So what was his response to this criticism, right? One, you obviously don't understand how a speedway operates to know redesigning a track is out of an employee's hands, even one with title of president. So according to him, he had nothing to do with that decision to destroy that track. And then he calls him he goes, second, cement head. If you don't want to hear my thoughts, why do you follow me? So Precision just says, Elite Precision 29 says, I actually don't follow you, LOL. This asshole, he's the former president of Texas Motor. He's a motivational speaker. A guy that calls a random Twitter critic a cement head, okay, is a motivational speaker, management consultant, mega event expert, public safety expert. Really a bunch of titles that don't seem, there's not one that seems to connect to the other. Reminds me of the CEO of Motorsport Games, Cosco, who's been the CEO of a bunch of different companies. None of them have anything to do with the other. This guy seems to just take whatever opportunities come, but he's got the balls to call a random person on Twitter a cement head for pointing out that he's the guy that ruined Texas Motor Speedway. But according to him, he's saying that even though he had the title of president, he had nothing to do with it. So this guy's a fucking douchebag. Okay? But let's look for here goes Eddie Kraft. Okay, so okay. Another one, right? Let me try to find the original. Okay, let me go back. So he has to expand. Okay. Hey, he had a couple of stupid takes. Where am I going? Hold on. Okay, this is one of the tweets. Other sports, NFL goes to commercials seemingly every change of possession, timeout, or injury, plus 2 quarter breaks and a 15 to 20-minute halftime break. Baseball goes to commercial every half inning as well as pitching changes. So he uses that to say that there's a lot of commercials in other sports. The difference is all of this is in between the actual on the field play. So between innings, nothing's happening. That's a perfect time to cut to commercial. In football, change of possession, timeout, injury, quarter breaks, and the halftime. That's all non-playtime. So nobody watching those sports miss out on any of the action. He knows this. Don't tell me he doesn't know that. But he's using that to give NASCAR and Fox and all these other TV broadcasts a free pass. When clearly Those are not the same. There's apples and oranges. That's number one. Number two, I understand if you just want to make the case that, look, racing doesn't stop except when there's a caution, okay? And even during caution, there's some action, right? I can understand the case where you say, look, if you go green flag racing for a certain amount of time, at some point you got to insert one or two commercials and then cut right back. I could live with that. I get it. But another thing they're not telling you when they go back 20 years ago and show you the commercial time, when there was a caution or a wreck, it didn't matter if you were in the middle of a commercial. They would cut away from commercial and go right into the action and show you what happened and talk about it before they got a chance to cut back to another commercial. So even when you had the same amount of commercials, they did a better job in how they distributed it and they never missed any wrecks and shit like that. So he doesn't talk about that. It's like his only look, here we go. TV pays the bills for us to keep the sport alive. I get it. And that's the point I just made. Unless you want us to plan 10 to 15 cautions so the producers can never miss anything exciting, I don't know what the answer would be. Well, you don't need 10 to 15 cautions to show commercials. Like I said, if you go a certain amount of time, right? Just like when you watch a program on TV, right? After a certain amount of time, they cut to commercial and then they come back to the show. If you're in green flag racing, then do that. If 15 minutes, I'm just using an example, 15 minutes goes by and there's still green flag racing, then cut to commercial and then cut back. But if when you're in commercial there's a caution, cut right back. Just like they used to do back then, which he doesn't bring that up, doesn't talk about it, but he's catching flack, which is why he has to come back. He has to keep, now he's talking about other sports, expanding on the commercials tweet. I would love to be commercial free, but that's an unreasonable request. Again, if you want to make that argument, I get it. I'll meet you halfway. But these people are just chiming in now, defending the product instead of saying, you know what, the people complaining have a point, but the broadcasters also have you got to pay the bills. So the right thing to do is to say, where can we meet in the middle, where we give people a better broadcast experience without ruining it, and then you still get enough commercials where the broadcasters make money. And these people are not interested in that. Someone else also did the same thing. Like I said, all of a sudden there's a bunch of people doing this shit. Okay? I don't know if I could find it. Okay? Give me a second. Hold on a second. I'm going to check. Um let me read some of the chat. I don't want you guys to feel like you're being ignored. Um okay. It's nothing more than a freight train. Yeah, they pack racing. There you go. A wreck fest at the end. Painful to watch. When was the last time they actually finished a race on the green? This is my point. I keep telling you guys every year. The same videos I made last year, the year before. That's why I didn't do a race review this year, because I'm only going to repeat the shit I've been repeating for years. I think it's safe to say I'm right. These are the main points I've made about pack racing, Talladega, Daytona in general. It's boring conga lines for 3 to 4 hours. It doesn't matter who's running where. The wrecks ruin everything. Anybody can win. And every time we see a pack race, those points that I've always made, they keep being proven to be correct. So, something else I want you guys to ask yourself, is there any other race that you can say, if you missed 95% of the race and you only tuned into the last 10 laps, you can actually feel like I saw everything I needed to see. I didn't miss anything. Can you say that about any other race outside of one of these pack races? And the answer is no, because everything you do in these other races matters. Where you run in the first quarter of the race matters. The only thing that matters in a pack race is that you survive. If you survive and you're there in the end, you might get a great finish. This is why you see surprise winners. Anybody can win a pack race. That's why I don't care about it. So, let's move on from that. Pack racing in the early 2000s was more respectful, much less blocking and stupid moves. Okay. Hey, hello, Bobby Birch. Hello to you. But were you shopping like a billionaire? I don't get that. Shopping like a billionaire? They actually had a Toyota crank it up. Yeah, they've been doing that forever too. Oh, by the way, the Fox broadcast is horrible. They're still doing those stupid comic book character drawings of the drivers where they all have chiseled abs and shit. It's stupid. And the only thing I could be grateful for, remember that stupid gopher back in the 2000s, that when DW would talk about it, that stupid gopher cam that would be on the track. Thank God that's still not a thing. I guess we can be grateful for that. Um, wasn't a factor at all in the race. Yeah, he was just there. He survived. He was there at the end. That's all that matters. If we get 17 winners, then he's out. Yeah, but we may not get 17 winners this year. That's a big, you know, I'm not sure we're going to get that many winners. I think more and more people are going to, have multiple wins this year. So who knows? It was like 3 laps green sometimes before a break. Yeah, it's crazy. I would pay $5 for a day pass. Yeah, you know what? If you want to charge by the race, but honestly, I'm not sure about that. That's a lot of money. I'll tell you why. If you look at other streaming services, let's look at Netflix or something else. The average streaming service may charge somewhere around $15 a month, give or take, right? If you charge people just $5 for a day pass, it sounds like a bargain. But if you look at it in 1 month, how many races are you going to watch? So there's a minimum. If you only watch Cup, that's 4 races. So that's $20 just in a month right there. I would rather see a package deal. Just charge people $15 a month for a NASCAR streaming service, right? I could live with that. It's affordable. I'm not sure how much more you can charge because, unlike other streaming services, NASCAR only offers you so much. What do you do during the middle of the week? Nobody's going to use the service. So, I think 15 for a month for a NASCAR streaming service, I could live with that. Okay? Hold on. This is the last Auto Club race. Oh, don't remind me. A fucking great track. The racing there has been really good, especially with this next gen car. It's a unique track. It's 2 miles. Yes, it needed to be repaved, but instead of just repaving it and maybe build up some of the amenities around the track to make it more attractive to draw more people in, maybe get rid of some of the grandstands and have a smaller crowd there, but at least a packed house. There's a lot of things they could have done, and you would still have a unique track. The only other 2 mile track is Michigan, and Michigan is very different from Auto Club, and they're destroying it for a fucking short track. I can't believe they're doing it. It really sucks, man. And I heard it's gonna rain. Oh my god. Yeah, it's supposed to be a really rainy weekend. So it's not looking good for this weekend. He's lying through his teeth. Who's that? It'll be a great one. Yep. I'm tired of people comparing motorsports to stick and ball. Yeah, it's not the same thing. For him to make that analogy that, oh, look at all the commercial breaks with baseball and football, the commercials all happen during where nothing's happening. Nobody misses a single play. So that's a stupid comparison, and he knows better. It's only good with two to go. Besides that, plate racing is boring. Juice 10, thank you. That's what I'm telling you. I think people get caught up with the end of these races, right? The pack racing. They forget that they just sat through 3.5 hours of a boring conga line. Okay? And then they just focus on the end. That's all people talk about. It's like you get amnesia. You just forgot that you sat through, 3.5, sometimes 4 hours of boring conga lines. Meaningless. And then the last few laps are always crazy, right? Because everybody's desperate. That's when people are making moves. So you always get the big wrecks, the crazy finishes, the surprise, finishes, surprise winners. So people walk away and they're focusing on that. And then they're like, oh my God, what a crazy finish. So this guy got screwed. Look at this guy. He did a boneheaded move. And then I think people just forget that you just sat through fucking 3.5 hours of boring, meaningless conga lines. And yeah, so that's exactly right. Commercials they kept playing. Yeah, that fucking digger cam. I fucking hated that shit. But yeah, you like digger? Listen, man, it goes to Fox Sports and this juvenile broadcast, right? Before Clint Boyer, you had fucking DW. These guys that are always trying to be funny. And believe it or not, I actually liked Waltrip. I think he had his good and bad, right? There were moments that were cringe when he was trying too hard to just be funny. But then there were moments where he actually gave you really good insight as a driver. And he would explain things about the car, and then he would be naturally funny. That's when he was at his best, right? But then he had the other part where he could be cringe. But I tell you, Boyer to me, I don't see any appeal to him. So DW was way better. But as I was saying, that Digger Cam, now you got this stupid cartoonish comic book drawings of the drivers, and uh, it's just a juvenile broadcast. You look at that and then you watch NBC, they take it a lot more serious. The guys in the booth are way better. I love Junior and and Jeff Burton. They do sound a lot alike, but man, I love what they bring to the booth. They're really good together. I could listen to them do a race, and you know, it's just night and day better. Digger was my childhood. Yeah, I mean, if you grew up watching it, I get it. I think Kyle Busch is gonna have a good year. Yeah, he's gonna listen, man. The guy's a great driver. I hate the guy, but he's gonna be great. And I do think that the Childress cars, they're good. They're not top level, but they're just a notch below. So he's gonna win some races. If you get rid of the one to two tracks on the schedule, what would it be? Um, okay, I know if I have to answer without thinking, I would say, of course, Daytona Talladega, because I hate pack racing. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna take a moment and I'm gonna say, hmm. Now you're saying tracks or races, because remember, Daytona and Talladega have two races apiece. So do you mean remove two tracks off the schedule or two races, individual races? I'm not sure. But if you mean races, you got to keep the Daytona 500 because as much as I hate it, it's important to most people and it's not all about me. I could live with a couple of these fucking pack races a year. I'll just I just live with it and then move on. I'm not a fan of road courses. Some of the road courses are not bad. Get rid of the Indy road course. That's the worst road course on the schedule. So get rid of that. Um, and if you could bring back the Brickyard, the oval, and replace that with that, I'd be happy. But get rid of the Indy road course. And I'm not really big on Coda. It's a really cool track. I just don't feel that it's tailor made for stock cars. But I'm not going to get rid of that one. Get definitely the Indy Road Course, and I really got to look at the schedule. But off the top of my head, okay, get rid of one of the Talladega races. So get rid of one pack race and that Indy Road Course. I fucking hate those. Yeah, and I would revisit that after I got a good look at the schedule. But off the top of my head, that's what I'm thinking. Meow. Okay, KCS, how you doing? I don't know what meow means, but uh, what sucks is that when there is a good track, he turned it into a bad track. Yeah, Atlanta, perfectly good racetrack. I know that when they repave a lot of old tracks, it kind of it could ruin it. But man, there was nothing wrong with the layout of that track, and I understand it did need to be repaved, but I fucking hate what they did to it. And now Auto Club, what are they putting in there? A half mile track? We already got a couple of half mile tracks. It's stupid. And Texas, that was a great track. They didn't have to redo that track. At least they weren't single file. Okay, but see, they were double file for most of the race. Did that really change anything? It's just instead of one conga line, it's two side by side. That doesn't change anything for me. That's just me. Fox did good with the camera angles this year. Speaking of camera angles and all that shit, now there's this. shit where they pixelate the fucking dashboard so you don't see the fucking RPMs and all that shit. This was never an issue before. I guarantee you, some jerk off at one of these teams probably said, hey, maybe we shouldn't let them see that stuff because maybe they could figure out what kind of gear we're running. And then other people caught on and said the same shit. It's stupid. It's just more shit that fucks up the viewer experience for us, for the fans. I had all the die cast of Digger. You had a die cast of Digger. I like Waltrip as well. Yeah, I thought people gave him a lot of shit, and I understand, right? I fucking hated when he would openly root for certain drivers. That was something he had a knack of doing, especially Dale Jr. Remember Junebug? Oh, Junebug. It was like I don't like that. To me, you got to be a little neutral when you're a broadcaster. I That turns me off. So, and there were times when he was trying too hard to be a clown, and that was. But when he was just naturally doing his thing, he was funny, and he was very insightful. You compare him to fucking Boyer, it's not even close. Now his brother, Michael, that's another story. He's terrible. Like, even especially when he does that shit when he's walking around the pit area and interviewing people, he's total cringe. Mike Joy's great. Larry McReynolds, I love Larry McReynolds, especially when he does. Remember when they do the cutaway of the car and he would explain shit like a crew chief? Really good. And that combo, Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip, I agree, all star broadcast lineup. That's when they were really good. Um, yeah, Kenny Wallace, Hermie Sadler. Yeah, they were pretty good. It's like the worst is right now. Mike Joy is getting old. Yeah. But even with his old age, he's better than the other guys around him. Michael Waltrip is just cringe. Yep. His grid, there you go, the grid walk. Yeah, yeah, it's not just your opinion. You're fucking right. It's cringe. You know who else is cringe? I can't stand that Jeff Rutledge guy. He used to do that stupid shit too. He would be that clown guy. He'd be in the pit area, or he'd be like sitting in the fucking infield in a fucking one of these kiddie pools. He's useless. He's got to be related to some fucking TV producer. He's the only guy I hate more than Waltrip, than Michael Waltrip. Is that no, it's not Jeff. Did I call him Jeff Rutledge? That's the old quarterback of the Giants. No, Rutledge Wood. That's who I'm talking about. He sucks ass. I hate that guy. Okay, Bowman makes the final four. Book it. I don't know, man. The competition is tough. There's going to be a lot of guys, fighting. It's going to be very competitive this year. I don't know if there's anyone I could book final four like right now. Um, the competition is tough. You can make a case for a lot of guys. So, yeah, there will never be a broadcast like Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, Ken Squire. Yeah. That was great. Texas and Pocono. Let me tell you something. Pocono gets a lot of shit, but I think Pocono's not bad. Now I go to a lot of live Pocono races. It's not the same as TV, but Pocono has a lot of strategy. I think Pocono, if you get rid of the stages, and I'm done with the stages. In the beginning, I was kind of supportive of it. They got to get rid of the stages. The stages get in the way. Um, yeah. But if you get rid of the stages, I think Pocono's not bad. I think Pocono catches a lot of shit. I like Pocono. That's just me. I can't stand the Roval. Yeah, you know what? The Roval's actually one of the road courses that I think it is kind of okay. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a fan of road course racing, but if I have to pick my personal two favorites, it's Watkins Glen and the Roval. The Roval's a pretty cool track for a road course, right? Um, I wouldn't cry if they got rid of it, but it's not terrible. They have too many road courses. Amen. They need more short track. Um, yeah, I think I've said this 1,000 times before. There's too many road courses. I think four would have been perfect. If you want to stretch it to five, I could live with that. Five. But anything past five, they're really just they overdid it. I like the Glen Sonoma. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Sonoma. Indy Road Course and Rovals are a joke. The Indy Road Course is this. I think that's the worst track on the whole schedule. It's the I can't believe what a shit show that track is. And it's not one race. There was a shit show the year before. It's garbage. Bring back the fucking the Brickyard, the oval. Dirt Bristol's a joke. Yeah, I am not a fan of that. It's a gimmick. I hate it. I'm not a fan of that either. I don't like gimmicks, man. I'm not a fan of the gimmicks. I would get rid of both Atlanta and bring back old Atlanta. Well, now we're talking about, you know, reconfiguring the track again. But yeah, bring back. Oh, Atlanta was one of the best tracks, and I think I would have loved to see this new car how that would have run on that track. I think it would have been fantastic, but we'll never know now. Look how good the racing was at Charlotte, the Coke 600. One of the probably the best race last year was the Coke 600. And think about it. Think about how long that race is. And everybody loved it. That's real racing. Larry was so good. Yep. I think I remember correctly. Michael Waltrip split a taco on Hamlin's car. I don't know. Split a taco? Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Larry can predict cautions. If I was a game dev, I would make a stock car game with a like 5 tracks because I would make myself. Yeah, man, bring it on. I'm telling you, I we are in big trouble with motorsport games. They are now pushing on just rehashing old games and just updating rosters and paint schemes. And because they have a lock on the fucking license, we're screwed. The damage that motorsport games is doing to these licenses is going to be around for a long time. And I'm telling you now, I can guarantee you that if somebody went to them and tried to buy the assets or try to get the license, I'm telling you, they probably asked for way too much. They are single handedly fucking an entire industry. And it's a shame. Um, we're not getting a fucking a legitimate new NASCAR game for years. And they promised us a new game, ground up rebuild, start from scratch. It's gonna be built off of a different this and a different that. And now we find out they're just gonna take either NASCAR Rivals or NASCAR E5 and do a few tweaks to it. Fuck this company, and I keep telling you guys, don't give them your money. And I got a couple of idiots that still come on and say, I don't care I'm gonna buy it. I love NASCAR games. Uh, Pure fucking full blown retards. Um, I really like Michael Waltrip when he used to call the truck races, but his grid walks suck. Yeah, the truck when he was in the booth with the trucks, yeah, he could be hit and miss, but I his brother was way better. Daryl Waltrip's better. It's sad how much better the commentary was a decade ago. ESPN with Alan Bestwick, Andy Petrie. What about Rutledge? Rutledge Wood, yeah, that's that. I fucking hate that guy. He's he's worse. The one guy who's worse than Michael Waltrip is that guy. Now he's not in the booth, but he is basically another mascot. He's like NBC's, uh, Digger. Basically, he's a fucking mascot. He's horrible. When I see him on the screen, he's terrible. Who gets rookie of the year? I don't know who's rookie. I guess you got Ty Gibbs. He's technically a rookie, right? Then you got fuck. What's his name? The guy driving the 42, the Wendy's car. I'm sorry, he's not coming to me, but yeah, I'm not sure. I got to see who all the rookies are, but I think it's going to be between uh, Noah Gregson and Ty Gibbs. I think as far as rookies go, they're probably the most talented. You don't understand the amount I pray for a Hamlin championship. Yeah, I'm not a Hamlin fan, but I'm going to tell you, I think Hamlin, as talented as he is, I have to say, he, I don't know if he's going to ever win a championship because I don't think other drivers respect him. I think they know that whenever they want to or need to, they'll run over him and there's no price to pay. He does a lot of talking, but he never actually does anything. And if you're not willing to stand up for yourself, he's been run over by everybody. I think Chase Briscoe that fucking bowled him over at that Indy road course 2 years ago? Then you had fucking Ross Chastain. You had other guys. These guys just run him over, plow into him, and he talks a lot of, he talks tough. Has he ever paid anyone back? I don't know. And I think if you're going to win a championship and you're somebody that people they don't fear just knocking bowling, punting you out of the way, I don't know, man. And that bullshit thing that Ross Chastain did, to win to steal a fucking playoff spot, he didn't even make noise about that. If Hamlin ever had a time where he could really make a lot of noise, that was it. And he didn't say anything really. He just kind of took it. And if I was in Hamlin's shoes, I would have said, "This is bullshit. This wall riding shit." He fucking destroyed the track record, and I fucking raced my ass off for the last 30 some odd laps. I earned that position in the playoffs, and then this guy pulls that crazy move. I know everybody loves it. It's a great moment, but it was wrong. And NASCAR should have at that moment said, "This is not good." It was, and they've already acknowledged they had a safety rule in place. They could have, and you see how NASCAR is. They shoot from the hip all the time. So they didn't have to let him earn that playoff spot. That was bullshit. But Like I said, Hamlin didn't say anything. So I really don't think he can win a championship just based on that. It's tough. Think Larson, Byron, Hamlin, and Kyle Busch make it. Well, if you're talking about Final Four, I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. Like I said, there's a lot of, I Final Four. I can't really argue with that. Yeah, I mean, that's not a crazy Final Four. I'm not a fan of any of those guys, but can I actually say no way? Not really. Stages were started because of the lack of passing, but now there's passing, no need for it. Whatever the reason, the stages have become bad. They're not adding much. Get rid of it. Wouldn't mind the road courses if they used less and didn't swap out actual tracks just to use the road courses inside their ovals. Just go 7 wide and pray for the best. You might as well. I mean, it's a fucking free for all at the end of these races. So if they're gonna race on dirt, at least use an actual dirt track, not wasting a Bristol date on it. I don't know, man. It don't matter to me. I don't care for dirt racing. I think NASCAR jumped the gun on road courses on so many so early. Yep. And now we're gonna get street courses. This is crazy. I think that street course is gonna be garbage. I also think every track needs only one date. It would make it seem more important and crowds would be bigger. That's not a bad point. If you only had one date at each track, more people would go to those races. Yeah, I could buy that. And it makes each of those events more special. I could see that. That's not a bad point. I actually like that. The next gen car is so good on mile and a half tracks. Absolutely. My favorite tracks are mile and a half. I think it's still NASCAR's bread and butter. And next gen car seems to really thrive on mile and a half tracks. You got high speeds, you got banking, you got good racing for the most part. It's not perfect, but man, I love me some mile and a half tracks. I bought the last game the day it came out. One of my biggest regrets. Yeah, well, you know what? Learn from your past and don't do it again. I don't think Rutledge is part of NASCAR anymore. Really? They got rid of him. I thought he was still on the NBC broadcast team. I hope he is fucking gone. Noah Gregson. Yeah, it came to me after, I do have these brain freezes. Just wait till we get to the Chicago street course and it turns out to be just like the Indy road course, with it being a wreck fest, someone taking a shortcut to get to lead. Yeah, it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be any good. Yeah. I think I've said what I needed to say. Uh, I think I'm gonna call it a night for um, the live stream. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I think that I, I I just find it weird. All these people suddenly popping up, yeah, and popping up like at Freddie Kraft. You got that douchebag from the ex president from Texas Speedway, and also what's her name from the Fox broadcast, which she actually is part of the Fox broadcast, so I'm not surprised she's caping for them. Jamie Little, she did a tweet. I can't find it right now. Same thing, showing the graph, telling us how it's always been that way. I'm sorry, that's embarrassing to even bring it. Rutledge gives NASCAR such a bad look. Yeah, he sucks ass. My home track is Michigan, and they lost one date. but and last year was one of the biggest crowds I've seen in years. I do believe it would make more races special, like you said. Yeah, yeah. If it's one time a year, more people would say, "Hey, I gotta make it." Yeah, good points. So, yeah, man, I'm gonna call it a night. Uh, yeah, thanks everybody for showing up to the live stream. I look forward to your comments, and yeah, have a good night, guys.